The next person is going to be Joylyn Kirui, giving us a very interesting talk. Makofi, Joylyn.
Yes. So today we're going to talk about adding the sec to DevOps. So just basically DevSecOps, and I'm sure most of you have probably heard about it. How many? You know, if you raise your hand, I'll ask questions. How many? Okay. Okay. So, how many guys were here yesterday? So, I'm from a company that you guys are saying you're queuing together, but maybe you can just say it's very doable to work for these companies. I work for Microsoft. I've been there since last year. I've seen Eva. Where is Eva? Eva. She's just here. She's also a software engineer there. So I am a senior cloud security advocate at Microsoft. And what I do. So what I do is mainly work with communities as well as product teams in terms of features, in terms of getting your security or the security products involved, in terms of fixing your day-to-day challenges, and as well as working with communities to get additional product features to help you work better. So, but my main focus in cloud security is around DevSecOps. So that's what I do on a day-to-day basis. How did I get to Microsoft? I got it through LinkedIn. So when you guys are talking about LinkedIn, working on your LinkedIn, it works. Okay? So we'll talk a lot more about maybe if you're interested in a career in security in Microsoft, what you need to do to get started. Also in DevSecOps, if that's what you're interested in, how to get started, how to get there. Yeah, no, yeah. So today we'll be talking alone. I'll be talking with Ellan. You probably know him on Twitter. Aisha Arvid on Twitter. So maybe you can just introduce yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name, as she said, my name is Ellan. I'm currently a SysOps engineer, a DevOps engineer, let's say. SysOps seems a little bit technical. I'm here with my mentor today, and a good friend, and we're going to be doing this talk on adding sec to DevOps, basically.
So the reason why I'm here with Ellan, this is his first talk, by the way, and maybe you can just clap for him. We've been talking a lot about having, you guys being out there, talking at conferences. So maybe you can just shadow and, get to interact with the various other speakers and shadow them as well and get out there. Yes? I know you have a lot of knowledge to share. This guy knows, he's humble. He's head of DevOps.
Luckily, I am the team lead for both cybersecurity and DevOps at my company. So, you can say.
So at such a young age, but he's doing amazing work. And I know most of us are doing awesome stuff. You have knowledge to share with others. So hopefully, Lawrence, if you have another conference anytime soon, hopefully I want to see many more people here presenting.
The CyberCon happening hopefully next month or the month before. Probably Jones will share about it later on.
Yeah, awesome. So I will jump right in. So just mentioned you are a developer. So when you were developing, did you ever think about security when you were developing?
When I was developing, before I got wind of security, actually mine was just, is that picture what? Yes. That's it.
Yeah, you just push it, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Like I was a software developer before, pushing so many systems, but I never ever thought of security until one day like, I got compromised.
Okay. So, I think mostly as you've heard from Joylyn and Mr. Jones, is as a developer, most of them are not, you don't think about security. So I might as well give a little bit of history as where we are at history, because I'm guilty of what they're saying. Like sitting in a corner, write software, send it here. So within the past decade, what the world has seen is changes in terms of how we do software. We're moving really fast towards, I think from 2009, around 2009 total, is when the term DevOps was coined. Because as software is really coming out really fast, right? Every day someone comes up with a new update, it's just pushing something. So in terms of tech, and the beauty of tech is that we're always learning, we're always improving. So what we mean by DevOps, I think from Wikipedia, is the union of people, processes, technology to deliver continuous value to users. However, as for me, I'd say it gets to a little bit trickier than that, where I say it gets a little bit trickier than that, because we're trying to move from just writing software to building systems. And as we began, normally it wasn't DevOps. I think most of the people started with Agile. Agile was the big thing back then, because it brought about the collaboration between the dev team and the, let's call them sales, people who talk to the end users. But you go to an end user, what would you like to see in our systems next time, right? And it really helped because users get to bring feedback in terms of what they want to see in their software. However, the rest of the teams internally were put in silos, that the dev team and the IT ops team does not talk. I'm sure some of you have had those fights. Personally, the way some of my dev team is not here, we usually have those fights. Because when you're in silos, you don't communicate. And we have recently seen this, I think barely 48 hours ago, a company called Uber got hacked. And if you've been reading the reports coming from it, is that this guy, he kama alifanya hack the box kwa hiyo company, if you're being honest. Because he hacked them and went on their Slack and told them, hey, I've hacked you. So what did the other team members do? They thought it was a joke. They started laughing about it. This guy was already inside. The lack of communication between teams inside an organization really caused massive losses, let's call it, as you've seen recently. So when you come to DevOps, what you're trying to do is unify both the ops team and the dev team. But you're able to communicate. You want a server running, you want me to move your data center from which side of the world. There must be that communication that we can be able to move this product, that the time to market of a product is really short. While at the same time, I'm not compromising the quality of your code, and you're not compromising the time of this market going onwards. But as we proceed, you know how the world works, right? Things, as you said, if you blink kidogo right now, something changes. So between the space of the past 10 years, we've seen a really big uptick in terms of the products that are being shipped, because software comes right up really fast. And as she said, in terms of cloud, she's really good at cloud. One of the agility of cloud is that you're able to build things really, really fast. The agility, you don't have to wait for a server until 2 weeks, nothing. See, a few hours or so, you can get something up. So we've come up with so many tools that it's become really difficult in terms of the whole software development life cycle. That all of these things, as Charlie has actually made me really scared of him, whatever you can do. Because in terms of DevOps, in terms of systems, my main job is actually to ensure that all this works together and it really works fine. So you've seen that as things continue in terms of software being really fast, these things are not, in terms of AppSec, let's call it, they're not really secure, right? And I think the next thing I think we can have, luckily, one of the greatest things we can see is that with the increase in terms of application spending, increase in terms of lack of integration, with a lot of things going to cloud, with a lot of things going to microservices, the vulnerabilities are wide. I think one of the most famous things in the cyberspace bootcamp was that nothing is fully secure. You always need it. I remember there was another session in Labu where he showed us a really awesome hack late last year that you're never really secure because malicious actors are really looking in different ways to exploit you. You've seen the curiosity that is there with Charlie over there. You've seen that's the same curiosity that malicious actors across the globe have. He has also, the phrase has also mentioned in terms of APTs, that some countries you've seen Russia do it. They have dedicated teams which maliciously look to exploit anything they can get in terms of compromise. You've seen NSO, which are mostly on the private side of malicious actors, but they do this for money, right? So, as the threat landscape is changing, it's increased. We moved from 2009, I think the most thing you could get hacked from back then was just your phone. Right now, people are hacking cars. I think later on we have a talk of someone who's using, what is it called, the fingerfish or something?
Flipper Zero.
That. People are hacking everything. You've seen tales of Tesla getting taken down through their AC and stuff. So as the threat landscape increases, and we've seen some really good breaches happening. I think the most famous one that each one and everyone knows here is Log4j. I think that was really big, where it's a simple thing that was forgotten in a Java Pocket Manager for Marvin, which brought the insecurity and the AI lookups that can be able to escalate as far as an RCE. And it wasn't monitored for a long time ago. It's used in so many artifacts. So as day in, day out comes, we are us as the people who build tech, as the people who write code, as the people who build systems, we are at a disadvantage, let's say, of trying to keep up with these things. So I think the next part of this one I'll give to my able partner to explain. I think this is more of expertise.
Thank you, Ellan. So what do you mean by DevSecOps now? So he's mentioned what DevOps is, and there are limitations to DevOps. You're deploying all these tools, you have no consideration to security, and you might be integrating a tool which is also vulnerable and hence also increasing your threat landscape. So that's why we have to integrate and work closely with the developers and as well as the operations team to integrate security throughout your software development lifecycle. So I would say DevSecOps in short is doing DevOps right. From the word go. Okay? So it's definitely a combination of developer, security, and operations. I've been guilty in terms of working in the green company for some couple of years and working with the developers, and then they are pushing a product and then it comes over to you, you get all these security vulnerabilities and then you push it back to the developers, and there's a lot of back and forth between developers and security team, and then once you have fixed maybe the vulnerabilities, and then now you move now to ops, and then now ops they say that this won't work in this particular environment, and then now we have to go back and now the whole project is delayed. That's why you have to work together throughout the whole solution, throughout the whole software development lifecycle to prevent delays and to bring more features to customers quickly in a secure way. So there are several benefits to having DevSecOps. So we are trying to reduce the remediation time by shifting security left as much as possible. So we are keen to say that security is everyone's responsibility, including you as a developer, including you as if you're working in the operations team. It's everyone's responsibility. So that's why we have to do a lot of training in terms of shifting security left throughout the organization. So another benefit of DevSecOps is to integrate secure your existing tool chains. So you might already have your tool chains already in your environment. So we want to work with you to make sure that your existing tool chains are secure as well. And also have to make sure that you have you're quickly identifying new threat vectors. So Charlie mentioned 0 days. So in most cases now you'll be able to identify these threat landscapes a little bit more faster. But we still have barriers in DevSecOps. So you still find organizations and teams are working in their own gaps. It's very easy to work in silos because communication is not that easy. Like between the teams, you have your own you have your own calls this period of time for developers and for ops. You are working in different time zones. You're working in different meetings. So we want to find a way of working together. Even if it's meetings, having meetings together. So at least you are able to narrow down that gap and work as a team as well. So there's also skills and knowledge gap. So we still find developers still not integrating security. We still find ops teams still not deploying security tools correctly. So that's why we have to do a lot of knowledge sharing in terms of skills, tooling, processes, and people as well. So the third barrier we have is solutions aren't built for developers. How many of you guys feel like that? Like you feel like, there's a time I was working with some developers integrating some security tools. So, and then you find that maybe there's a lot of false positives. So by the time it's generating maybe a report, the time it takes for them to identify that these particular issues are actually false positive is a lot longer than actually the time it took for them to actually build that code. Ukweli uongo. I've worked with developers where they're actually complaining. So yes, we understand that security is important, but it's delaying our projects, delaying our delivery. There's no developer velocity in this case. So these are still challenges that we are facing even to date. So we still have to shift security left despite all these barriers, because 80% of reduction in security incidents are extended through security to development. So you're able to fix 80% of security incidents as early as possible. You're able to reduce costs of security incidents by 60% when you shift security left. And you're able to have 60% of enterprises actually do not integrate to security development lifecycle, which is quite hazardous. So I'll finish off this theoretical part. We're just trying to understand, so what are the 3 things for successfully securing your developer workflow? So we want to say, okay, so how can we integrate security through the software development lifecycle? We have to deploy developer-first tooling. So by developer-first tooling, is make sure that you provide, empower the developers to be more cognizant of the security impacts of the code that they're building. You'll find in most cases that developers actually know the kind of code that they're building is not secure. So they are the best people to actually train, and because they are trained to push more secure code. Truth be told, you'll find that to do something right, sometimes maybe like two-way SSL might take a long time to build, or it will affect maybe the delivery of your software. So sometimes you'll find our developers going the short way and doing stuff, maybe not so secure. So we also have to build in, we have native and built-in security capabilities. So by providing data and built-in security capabilities into your workflow. And the third theme for a developer workflow is automation. So when we're talking about DevSecOps, it's mainly about now automation, people and processes, and tooling. But nowadays you find people concentrating so much about tooling. But the main things are around your people and your processes. So by people, we want to work with developers having security champions, empowering them on how to identify security vulnerabilities as early as possible so at least they can scale it down to their teams. And having a security champions program is something that all of us need in order to identify security vulnerabilities as early as possible. So we'll go right into, so what do we mean by DevSecOps? So we were saying that we want to integrate security into the software development lifecycle. So what is the software development lifecycle? So we have all this. Like during the pre-commit, we have the commit, the deploy, and the operation and monitoring. So we have to integrate security throughout all these stages as well. So, so for pre-commit, we have threat modeling, which is quite key. Identify threat to see, so what threat actor can be used, what vector can be used to attack this particular system. So later on in the afternoon, there's a session on threat modeling by Sabrina, so please pay keen attention to what she'll be saying, how you can be able to do threat modeling techniques to identify weak areas within your system. And then also for pre-commit, we have IDE security plugin. So for IDE security plugin, I'll just show you very fast. As a developer, when you are developing, we want to identify security vulnerabilities from the word go. So whenever you are, okay, font size. Okay. Big enough? Yeah. Okay. So whenever you're programming, maybe using your favorite IDEs, I hope your favorite IDE is VS Code because that's my favorite. Yes. So we want to, we have very many security tools that you can use whenever you're developing. So at least you can get security vulnerabilities on the go and identify them even before pushing it to your repo. So when you're in VS Code, you have extensions. So we have several tools in the marketplace which you can use in your code to identify vulnerabilities. So some of my favorites are some like Sneak. So you can just go into your marketplace and search for Sneak. It will take you to this extension where you install it. And then once you install it, it will start automatically crawling through your code and identifying security vulnerabilities. So I had already installed it because it takes a bit of time, but so it crawled through my code and it gave me all these security vulnerabilities. So you're able to go in, it tells you the line that is actually vulnerable, and then it gives you recommendations as well. So it tells you that this is actually, this plugin does not cover by the lifecycle configuration. So some of these you'll find are best practices as well as maybe OWASP top 10, as well as like known vulnerabilities as well. So you go through it whenever you're developing, and then now you're able to fix on the go. So another tool that you can use on VS Code as well is like CodeQL. So on CodeQL as well, it's just installing the extension. And then for this, it's a little bit more technical, but so you have to download your whole code in the form of a database, and then upload the code as a database in VS Code, and then query them. So I'll have a little bit more talk on this. Follow me, I'm sharing more content around CodeQL as well, but you can go in and start playing with CodeQL. But it's not only those. So you can go into the marketplace and just search for other security extensions that you can use on the go. There are very, very many. So you can find that all these security intelligence, we have Veracode, we have all these, we have Sonalite, we have SonarCube that you can use on the go. So you see, it's pretty simple.
Technical, I'm usually guilty of that. So allow me to ask, how many in here are devs? By show of hands. Not quite a lot of devs. How many here are in ops, cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, SysOps? How many are in security? I'm sure that's the majority of the population. Now you're the guys. Now you're supposed to, at least now you can talk to your guys on here. So to avoid being abstract as much as possible, as Joylyn has shown on the side of the developer side, that in your VS Code there are really wonderful plugins that can be able to add, so that the developer doesn't really have to fall under the whole complicated jargon in terms of integrating security. Microsoft really has good products integrating the VS Code. So on the side of building the pipeline, we have a Visual Studio Marketplace, where over here you can be able to add integrated security plugins in your CI/CD pipeline. Most of these, like Snake, as you said, will be able to run through your code and tell you if there are any vulnerabilities that are there. We have container security, which mostly works on linting in terms of how your artifacts are clean. So that I think, how many here are gamers? Last year, EA got hacked. I think the hack was really impressive because the guy literally went and copied the, what is it called? He copied the artifact, he identified the artifact, let's say. And it was really, because it kept on being replicated, and this guy already can be able to plug in more secrets across the whole. So some of these security plugins in your CI/CD pipeline help you to work towards that. Just a minute. Just make me look for So I think his CI/CD Azure DevOps pipeline, we've named our project DevSecOps. And as you can see, mostly your developers, first thing first, they're gonna start from, after you've done the whole planning, you've done the whole system design, the next stage will now be your people now writing the code, right? And they're gonna push it to your repo. On the other side, now when you're building, this is where we have to integrate the security aspect of things in every stage of the SDLC pipeline. As I think I can show you. So from the pipeline, you'll be able to have ways to integrate your you can be able to integrate from your YAML file. On the side of the task, this is where mostly you can get from the marketplace different security products that can be able to integrate. Some, as she has shown, there's Snake, there's CodeQL, there's SonarQube, there's SCA, mostly SCA. You can do the SSD test between the every step, because the issue with pipelines, let's say, is that I think most of you are familiar with the two rules of development. Number one, do not test in prod. Kindly, as someone who has suffered on this, I beg you, never test in prod. Do not push anything in prod that isn't there. The other thing is, I think this one is more of Kenyan based, we don't push anything on Friday. On Friday, we not push them. Tutalala hapo. I think the famous one is the tutalala hapo. Don't push anything on Friday. So when you come back to our pipeline, you can see that as you add the task, for example, the dependency check, most of our software today, as we have advanced, we've started using open source software. And as you've seen with the kind of malicious actors in terms of their TTPs, they really take advantage of this because, hey, which developer is going to go and ask at you to compromise on open source? They usually, human beings make mistakes. Sometimes we ignore a little bit of things. So some of these can be able to check on the dependency that you've been using, whether they have vulnerabilities. Because high chances your developer won't come to look at you. This thing, I found it on an open source framework, does it have vulnerability? But you on the side that you're the one building this pipeline, you're the one who's going to push this side of code, you have to take this into consideration. So we will run the task, but it usually takes a little bit of time. So I think we're going to show we've already done.
Maybe a little bit crash course on Azure DevOps pipeline. So whenever you want to access the extensions from the marketplace for security tools that you can integrate, you go to you create, how many of you have access to Azure DevOps? Please, by raise of hand. If you don't, I'll give you access. Yeah, for learning purposes. Okay, so crash course. So when you have access to Azure DevOps, so you go to your organization settings, and you go to extensions. So you browse the marketplace. You remember the same thing we did in VS Code, where you have a marketplace. So we have partners that have generated all these tools, which you can integrate as tasks within your Azure pipeline. So when you're here, you can just do as much as just searching for security, and you'll find all these other extensions that are there in the marketplace for your integration within your pipeline. So you see, we did the same thing with Sneak within your IDE. So you can also integrate Sneak within Azure DevOps pipeline. So within your IDE, we were doing it as pre-commit. So, but for here, we'll be doing code scanning. We'll be doing SCA scanning using Sneak. So when you want to use something like Sneak, you just go to it, and you get it for free. As simple as that. So when you get it for free, you make sure that it's mapped to your organization, and you click install. And then you proceed back to your organization. So when you proceed back to your organization, remember I did not have Sneak before. So if I go to my extensions, I should be able to see that Sneak is now part of the extensions that are there. You can see it right here. So that's usually the first bit. You have to install the extension. So now you have to go back to your project. I'm using this project called DevSecOps, and I have a YAML file. So in this project called DevSecOps, I have my vulnerable code. So within my vulnerable code, you clone it maybe even from GitHub, and so I have it here. And I have an Azure Pipelines YAML file. So that's what I use to run my CI/CD scans and to integrate my tools and tasks and everything else. So any change that I make to this Azure Pipelines YAML file, it prompts a trigger to the pipeline, and then it scans. So whatever I had identified within the tasks, if it's adding the Sneak task, it will do that scan. So it's as simple as that. So we can go to pipelines, and you edit your pipeline. So I had this. So you can see the syntax for YAML file. You have your resources, you have your stages. And then, so within this stage I'm calling it application security. So you can also have another stage for building and deploying, and also doing some infrastructure as code security scans as well. So it depends on what you want to do. So for this particular step, so within this stage I have jobs. So for this job I'm running test jobs. So within this job I'm running this task for white source. This I had already installed. It's an extension that was already available, but when you hit the assistance tab here and you search for, we installed which extension? So I just do as much as just search for Sneak and then click on it, and then so for this one it's a little bit more complicated because I have to go into the Sneak portal, get your API token, put it, integrate it through your project settings as service connections, and then put all those here, and then now to be able to scan your code. So it's usually very simple. So for this particular example, if you want to play around with this, like for this one, I'm running white source. So you can go into the task. So nowadays my white source is called Mendbolt. So you can just go into your extensions, install the Mendbolt extension, and then add the task for that. It's as easy as that. As easy as that. And then you run, against your code, and then it triggers the pipeline to run, and then it goes in and crawls through your code and gives you security vulnerabilities, which you can save as an artifact and push it and you can build it and save it maybe as a machine readable format and see what you can be able to do with that security vulnerabilities. Maybe a reporting portal as well. So that's a crash course about Azure DevOps pipeline in terms of integrating security tooling. So you can see it's doing all these jobs, and in the end, it will give you a security vulnerability report. So I will show you maybe what I had before. So it ran, before I had run this, so when you go to your main vault, it will give you security vulnerabilities that have been identified within your code. It's as easy as that, isn't it? Very easy, isn't it? Yeah. So you can still do the same thing. So you can see it gives you an open risk report with severities, and you can be able to fix all these security vulnerabilities, and even rerun your pipeline once you've closed the issues and see if the vulnerabilities were closed. So just a quick one. You can still do the same thing using CodeQL and other dependency checks on GitHub. So once you have your repo up, you just go, there's a tab here that's available for everyone. So even if you have a public repo, you can just go here to security and enable. It's as easy as going to security policies and enabling your security advisories, dependable alert, enabling it. And code scanning, you need to set that up as well. So this usually creates a workflow for CodeQL, which goes into your code and gives you security vulnerabilities. For the interest of time, I've just shown you like how easy it is to enable that. Just go to security tab and enable the security features. So the kind of security vulnerabilities that you will see is something like this. So when you on the left, you see dependable security issues, and it will give you all this. You can see all these critical high-risk vulnerabilities which can be able to address, and it also gives you recommendations on how to fix them. Simple as that, isn't it? So crash course as well for GitHub Actions, maybe for those who have not interacted with this before. So you've seen for all these security jobs that we're doing, we are adding them as workflows. If you want to add like a new workflow for a particular security tool, it's as well as just going to new workflow. It gives you all the, so you just search here. You can use the same thing as just searching for security. And you can see all these workflows that are available for you to use within GitHub Actions. You can do Codacity security scans. You can do all this just as well as it's as easy as just clicking configure and starting commit. Easy, right? Easy, right? Oh, go. Let me not lie to you. It's not like it's that easy. No, because there's a lot that goes into DevSecOps. Because we have to do, we've shown you the pre-commit. Yes, that's just for the developers doing before you commit your code. And then now for the commit, you are doing continuous integration, continuous deployment, as well as the images that you're building. You have to do security scans on them, on your whole infrastructure, and communicate those security vulnerabilities with the ops team. So there's a lot that goes into that. And one big thing that you'll see around DevSecOps is you need to learn a lot around container security. So if it's something that you're interested in, like, there's a lot of resources as well. So one thing that I liked when I was getting into DevSecOps was this particular course called Practical DevSecOps. So if you're interested in that, it's something that you can look into just to get started in knowledge around container security, application security, and how to integrate security into your SDLC. I think we ran out of time. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Let's finish up.
So I think we can finish up with final part-time advice on how to harden your pipeline access. As we've seen, I think as we move more from combining our software into systems, most of the things are going to be attacked at your pipelines. So we can start from the very first slide is that you have to create organizational device policies, ADs, and device policies to secure development of machines. Because I've said one of the prevention that should have been done with our latest Uber hack was that you have to use secure machines for MFA. The next one would be make sure all operations adhere to the least privilege principles, where you give people permissions, just in time permissions. Let's say if they have to access a server, you have there's really no need for your finance guy to bring up PowerShell. If in the same office with Labu and your finance guy starts PowerShell, you have to be really careful about that. The next would be regular scan for identity access management to ensure that the least privileged access management policies are in place. Then we have to use MFA authentication and dual key just-in-time approval for privileged operations, human-induced pushes. Then you can enable endpoint protection for all workstations and only allow registered devices. Still going back to the hack. Last but not least, kindly inject identity early into their automation pipeline. But you have to know who is who and who is doing what. All of these will be able to help you prevent this type of attacks, which are compromised credentials and malicious insiders.
Yes, we're done. So I think that's a